It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Carla Penedo. I lead offer development and pre-sales at Celfocus. We are an European high-tech system integrator company that has been working and innovating in the telco sector for over 20 years. So, in a world where the pace of change is accelerating, we have entered a new era defined by generative AI. Before GenAI, there was just AI. And it was also evolving, but at a more moderate pace. Personally, I recall client meetings where AI was viewed with suspicious because it was a probabilistic thing. So there was no guarantee of 100% success rate. It was not deterministic. The outcomes could vary, and also it was not easy or sometimes even possible to explain how it achieved a certain result. And in fact, it was quite a challenge to demonstrate and to truly show the value of this type of solutions. But then GenAI came and it changed the paradigm. So now companies, organizations understand that even with imperfections, limitations, hallucinations, there is value in using this type of solutions, in using AI, in using GenAI. In fact, companies understand that they need to embrace this type of new reality so that they can not risk losing competitive advantage or even sustainability. So what are the tangible benefits that GenAI is bringing to us? There are plenty of them. In fact, just in the telco sector, there are many, and I will tell you a few of them in a couple of minutes. But in the end, to simply put, what GenAI is really bringing to us is time. It brings us seconds, minutes, hours, days that we can use, that we can invest to have more growth, to have more innovation, to have more money, and it also means to have more life to live, more opportunities to seize, and more moments to cherish. And that is naturally a game changer, not just for our personal lives, but also for the companies, with telcos being no exception. So let's delve into how GenAI is changing the game for telco operations, in fact, how they are, or how it is changing and redefining the game to achieve the ultimate goal of having more time to hopefully do better things. So if you are interested in GenAI, and if you are here, I believe you are, you already thought about several use cases that can be implemented using this type of technology. Most probably, you already started having some experiments in order to understand how this can be used and bring benefits. But these ideas, these use cases, need to be translated into business value. And for that, it is required to have a well-defined plan for generative AI. And I already mentioned, I believe GenAI is a game changer, but also we cannot be mistaken, because GenAI is not a solution for all the problems. In fact, there are better alternatives for many other things, such as handling unstructured or structured data, rule-based automation, or even highly regulated sensitive data. So how shall we proceed with GenAI? And the answer is we need to define the business case. And in order to identify the business case, we need to do a lot of calculations in order to make sure that we are in the right track and we should move forward with GenAI implementations. So what we typically do, and this is also our initial typical first engagement with our clients when they want to set up the GenAI strategy, is to start with the use cases. And based on that, we define what is the best solution to address this type of use case. What are the required capabilities that can involve GenAI or other AI machine learning capabilities as well. And based on that, we also need to think about the several measures that we need to track in order to define a benchmark and also to define a target, so that in the end, if we can reach that target, we know that we have a business case. For example, let's imagine that we want to build a use case for the customer support because we want to improve the customer interactions that we are having at the contact center. And for that purpose, let's imagine that we build a solution requiring some great GenAI capabilities, such as intent recognition, summarization, or sentiment analysis. And also, because of the nature of this specific use case, we also need to track several measures, including first call resolution, call handling time, and many others. And also, we need to know beforehand how much it costs to have a human agent working at the contact center, how much it costs to have those APIs running and have those great, amazing capabilities that GenAI offers. And based on that, we can do the calculations and understand, okay, if I reach a point where I get this specific percentage of improvement in NPS or this specific percentage of improvement in the cost savings, okay, I'll have a business case. So now we'll move forward with a scenario that typically we all want to avoid, which is a global network outage. And to better illustrate this scenario, I bring 4 different perspectives, from customer to service to network and field service operations. And the idea is to see how these 4 teams perform using solutions leveraging on GenAI. And also I bring solutions that we already built at Celfocus to help these teams do a better job, and also the tangible benefits that we achieved so far. So the storyline will be the following. We'll start at the customer operations, because it's a good typical starting point for GenAI. And we'll see that there is a high volume of calls reaching the contact center, because people are complaining about weak internet signal. And then we'll see how the other teams perform. For instance, service operations teams are going to notice that there is degradation in the network performance. And so they can anticipate, because they are using a GenAI solution, they can anticipate that there will be a major outage in a couple of hours. And based on that, and on the root cause, and on also impact analysis, they can trigger some actions to have, hopefully, that major fault avoided. In this particular case, they are going to raise a ticket for the network operations team. And they will need to perform a manual and very document-intensive task to solve the issue. And because they also noticed that there is a problem with a specific client equipment in the area, they are also going to raise a ticket for the field service, for the customer fulfillment team, and they will make sure that they have a field service team on site solving the issue for that specific equipment. So now let's delve into these 4 different perspectives and stories. So typically at the contact center, the main goal is to make sure that they are providing the best customer experience possible. And of course, what customers want is to have minimum wait times, minimum response times, and also to make sure that they have an answer and the problem solved as fast as possible. And well, nobody really enjoys calling a contact center. And even if we think about the other side, the human agent that are on the other side, for them, this experience can be also quite stressful. So it is very important that they have the agents, human agents, at the contact center have the right tools to support and help them do the best job possible. So at Celfocus, we built an augmented customer support framework that is getting data from all the interactions across all the channels and is using GenAI and other machine learning capabilities in order to get meaning, get insights from the real-time transcripts, and provide those insights and integrate those insights seamlessly into the existing technological stack of our clients. We already reached several benefits with this tool, with this framework. The client was also aiming to improve the self-service, so they already have a chatbot. And what we were able to do with this type of framework was to increase in 10% the call deflection rate. So there are now more journeys that end, it start within the chatbot, because we can direct to the right automated journey. And also, moreover, we were able to decrease the number of steps that are required for this type of automation, because beyond the intent recognition, we can also retrieve additional context from the information, from the interaction, and it is not required to have so many questions between the bot and the customer. We were also able to reduce in 20% the call handling time just by using the typical GenAI capabilities, intent recognition, summarization, sentiment analysis. And this was really a game changer, which is 5% reduction in detractor calls. We noticed at this client that, in fact, there were many calls where the agents promised to call back later on with some information, with the resolution, but for some reason that never happened. And in fact, this was the top reason for dissatisfaction. So now we have a solution that can, in real time, identify if there is a promise to call back later on or not, and also the due date and time so that we can also create a ticket to automate a call in time. And now this problem is no longer an issue. We already implemented more use cases at the customer support level, like identifying recurrences, root cause analysis, NPS and scale, because we can now infer the sentiment of all the interactions across all the channels and provide the CSP a much more comprehensive view of what is the customer experience at all these channels. We did this for English language to start with. We then expanded to Turkish and Albanian. And we got more or less the same success rates, the same type of KPIs. We just needed to make some fine-tune regarding some cultural changes. For instance, a sentence in a given culture may have a negative sentiment, but in another one, it may be neutral. And we needed to fine-tune this type of challenge, of differences. So moving on with our story, we now go and take a deeper look at the service operations team. So typically, in these areas, they are reactive to issues. And when they are reactive to issues, problems are already there, already noticed. Customers are already facing difficulties, and they have a lot of pressure to solve the issues as fast as possible. Naturally, the ideal approach would be to move towards a more preemptive and preventive strategy, so that in the end, it could understand what is going on and anticipate these major issues and these major faults or outages. So we are currently at Celfocus working on a solution to address this type of challenges. And how will it work? So the solution is collecting network data, and based on that, we are predicting future network performance data. And then we apply anomaly detection to these future predictions in order to understand if it is expected or not to have an anomaly in that time frame. And also to do that, we are using GenAI because we use it to better correlate the data and to improve the performance of the anomaly identification. So in the scenario that we are considering, let's imagine that these guys, the service team, already have this type of solution, and so they can notice that there is degradation in the network performance, and then it is expected with a certain probability level to have a major outage in a couple of hours. So what they can do is to take some actions that could, in fact, avoid the issue. And in this particular case, they are going to raise a ticket for the network operations team. And because they also notice another problem with equipment, they are also going to raise a ticket for customer fulfillment. And please notice that here we have the human in the loop. And this is also very important and very critical, especially when we are first deploying a solution. Because we want to make sure that we have time to fine-tune the algorithms, to make sure that we can build trust within this system so that when we have higher levels of confidence, we can, for instance, bring automation and make this a more autonomous solution, okay? So in terms of benefits, of course, we are expecting to decrease minimum time to repair because we will work on the preemptive side, increase network availability, and also, of course, have a positive impact at the contact center because we are expecting to have a lower volume of complaints. And then let's talk about the network operations team. So typically they have to handle with different types of equipment from various vendors using multiple software versions on a daily basis. Because in order to solve the network issues, they need to do some configurations, they need to run specific commands, and they, for that, need to research information that is spread across many different documents. And typically those documents are scattered across unstructured internet. And there are multiple versions of the same documents. And so it's very hard to search information. And of course, it's a time-consuming process. So what we already did at Celfocus, we built a solution to address this type of challenge. And the solution, what it does is initially, it collects all the information, so the meaningful data documentation. It cleans it, it does pre-processing, and it stores it and indexes it in a knowledge base. And then, how does it work? When an engineer has a request, a specific request, the solution uses AI search capabilities to retrieve the relevant information from that knowledge base. And based on that, we then have a large language model that prepares, generates a personalized response, also including the document links where the information came from. And that is already helping the network engineers in this very time-consuming task. And we already proved to increase in 80% this search process, okay? And here we are talking not just about searching, but also take meaning, interpreting the information in order to make it actionable. And finally, we have the last story, which is field service operations. So typically, these guys can work and have different types of actions in the network. In this specific case, they want to solve the issue on a given equipment. So the solution that we built for a specific client, the client was targeting a very specific measure. They wanted to reduce the number of 6% of second site visits. So they wanted to make sure that the actions performed by the technicians were enough and solve the problem at first intervention. So here, what we did was to build a recommendation solution that uses work orders information, historical work orders information. So every work order has mainly two fields. It has the description of the issue, but it also has the observation from the technician. And that observation contains all the actions that he performed in order to solve the issue. So what we do is we use GenAI to retrieve the actions from the good examples, from the work orders that did not require second or third interventions, and we use that to feed a recommendation engine so that in the end, when the technician goes to the field and to do the intervention, he has not just the description of the issue, but also a set of actions that are recommended and probably will result in a more effective and efficient work. We already reached those benefits, 24% reduction of second site interventions, and that represents 1.4% reduction in field service costs. It may look a small number, but as you know, field service is typically associated with a high volume of costs, so this is quite significant, with a starting point of 72% success rate. We are now currently evolving because we are ambitious and so our clients, and we want to improve this 24% rate. And we are now correlating these work orders information also with network data, and our expectation is to be able to reach up to 30-35% reduction in second site visits. So as we reach the end of this journey towards the landscape of generative AI, please remember that every use case, every transformation journey should aim this ultimate goal of having more time for what really matters. So thank you very much for sharing this moment with me today. And let's all hope that all the meaningful insights that we can get from this great conference will also help us to build a future where every tick of the clock counts to make a more brighter and connected world. Thank you.